Hey everyone, it's Steven from Tostemac and welcome to part 2 on how to become an advocacy content creator. If you haven't seen part 1 yet, I highly recommend checking out that video first before diving into this one. Today, I'm going to be sharing with you the basics of how you can go about creating your content. And the reason I say the basics is because there are multiple ways you can go about making your videos. And depending on what kind of video you want to make, they may require more or fewer steps. That's why we're just going to stick with the basics in this video. We'll go over a list of equipment that you'll need, the few steps that you'll want to take before hitting the record button, and then I'm going to share with you a few ideas on how you can go about making your content. Afterwards, it's up to you. At the end of the day, this is your content, your vision. You are the captain of this ship, so you decide where the ship goes. All right? All right. We'll begin with the basic list of equipment. Can't make any content without them now, can we? You'll want to start by finding a high-quality recording device, be it either a DSLR or even a smartphone. Some of you might be surprised to hear me say that you can use a smartphone to create high-quality content. But the truth is, with how technology has been advancing over the years, some of the more recent models like the Samsung Galaxy S22 or the Apple iPhone 13 Pro can create outstanding quality for your content. Moreover, you can also put video editing softwares on the same device, so you don't even need a computer. You can just record what you want to record, edit it, and then post it all on one device. It's pretty convenient. However, that's not to downplay the power of a DSLR camera, much like the Canon EOS M50, which I'm using right now, and the Panasonic Lumix GH6. These DSLR cameras have a few advantages of their own. For starters, since they're solely used for the purpose of photos and videos, they usually have more storage space for videos and pictures in comparison to a smartphone, which you also use for text, social media stuff, and stuff like that. Also, you can buy more SD cards for additional storage for your DSLRs. And since DSLRs usually have bigger sensors inside them, they can usually produce better picture quality than a smartphone. Of course, this is arguable depending on which model you look into. But finally, with a DSLR camera, you're usually more flexible with your options in terms of like exposure, depth of field, zooming in, angles, stuff like that. Whereas with a smartphone, your options may be limited. Of course, if you're doing just vlogging stuff like this or advocacy videos, you might not have to worry about it as much. As you can see, DSLR cameras and smartphones both have their ups and downs. So ultimately, it's up to you to decide which recording device is best for you. But I will say this, make sure you are looking at the top 5 or top 10 recording devices for content creators within the current year. The reason I say that is because technology is always advancing, and what may work a few years ago might not be good enough now. That's why I don't use the Canon EOS 60D anymore. It's outdated. Once you decide on a recording device, you'll also want to look into an attachable mic to go with it. Why? 2 reasons. Number 1 is that with an attachable mic, you are focusing the audio forward towards where the camera is pointing. Whereas if you're just using the built-in mic on your DSLR or smartphone, you're going to be capturing the audio everywhere. And ideally you don't want that. You want your audio to be focused on your subject, where the camera is facing. And the other reason for an attachable mic is so that you can reduce the hissing and humming that you may hear in the background. Don't believe me? Try a recording without the attachable mic and then the second recording with an attachable mic. If you listen closely, you'll notice the difference. Now, a good example of an attachable mic that I like to use is a Rode Video Micro Mic. It comes with a built-in suspension mount, and it comes with a special windshield, otherwise known as a dead cat. God, that is a terrible name. But what this is that it's a fuzzy cover that you put on top of your mic, and it serves 2 purposes. One, it significantly reduces the pickup noises that may go on in the background, and, as for the name's sake, it can reduce and at times even eliminate wind noises, making this ideal for both indoor and outdoor recordings. And this particular one wasn't really that expensive at all, only about 49 bucks give or take. Rode is usually a really good brand in terms of like attachable mics for DSLR cameras. And I know there are some for smartphones as well, but again, you want to look for the best attachable mics for cameras or smartphones within the current year. Make sure you're getting the latest edition possible to get the best quality possible. At this point, we have a high quality recording device and an attachable mic. The third piece you want to add to this trifecta is a tripod to hold your recording device. Now, I'm not going to spend too much time on this because in all honesty, if you're going into advocacy videos or vlogs like this, then you don't really need a tripod with too many bells and whistles. It's not like you're doing a dynamic shot or an action shot or trying to record too low or too high. No, you just need a tripod that's sturdy enough to hold your recording device and has a built-in leveler inside it. What this is a little liquid device that shows you where the center is. This is ideal for making sure your recording device is balanced and even. That way when you're recording, it's not like you're recording at an angle or crooked or anything like that. You can easily find a good tripod on Amazon for less than $100, so you don't need to make too much of an investment on a tripod. That should take care of the basic list of equipment that you'll need to record your content. However, you may feel like you may want a bit more. Maybe you want a couple studio lights to brighten up the scene, or maybe some acoustic foam around the walls to reduce the echoing and vibrations going around. That's going to be entirely up to you and what you want to do for your videos. If you have any questions about the recording equipment or studio lights or anything like that, let me know in the comments section below and I'll answer it as best I can. Moving on to the next piece of equipment you'll need is a computer. Now, granted, if you are doing all the work on a smartphone, you may not have to worry about this step as much. But if you are using a DSLR camera or if you plan to work on a PC anyway, you'll want to pay attention to this part. You want a strong computer with the following components built in. You want a high-speed drive for media, you want 4 gigabytes of GPU memory, an Intel 6 or 7th gen processor or something equivalent to that, and 16 gigabytes of RAM memory, RAM, all this at minimum in order to use most of the video editing softwares out there. We'll go into more of that in a bit. So these are important components that you need to have in your computer if you don't want your computer to keep crashing all the time. With all that said, the brand I like to use is Alienware. More specifically, I am using the Alienware Aurora R12. Not only does this computer excel at gaming, but it also excels as a video editing computer because it has all the components I listed and more. In fact, when you go to the Alienware website and try to purchase an Alienware computer, there is a special bundle deal that includes access to Adobe softwares which you use for video editing. That alone should tell you the capabilities that Alienware has in terms of video editing. But let's just say you don't like Alienware for one reason or another. You want to use something else. That's fine. There are some alternatives. For example, the Mac computers for fans of Apple. There is also Omen and Lenovo. These are often recommended for video editing computers as well. Now, some of you might be tempted to maybe make your own computer. Maybe make one that surpasses the Alienware Aurora R12. I know some people have done it before, but that usually requires a steady hand and that you know what you're doing. Otherwise, I would recommend getting a pre-built computer before diving into all the mechanics and bells and whistles. One more thing. Just know that buying one of these computers for video editing is not going to be cheap. The computer I mentioned, the Alienware Aurora R12, easily cost me over $1,300 to get. And that's after the bells and whistles and specifications I wanted to add to it, and it was during a Cyber Monday special sale deal. So just keep that in mind when you're looking into computers to buy for video editing. Now we are at the point where we can look at the video editing softwares that you'll want to use. This is the equivalent of putting the icing on the cake. This is where you can polish your videos to the way that you want them to look and sound like. Now, all the video editing softwares I use all come from Adobe Creative Suite. I use Premiere Pro to edit the videos, I use Adobe Audition to clean up the audio, and then I use Adobe Photoshop to make amazing thumbnails to catch the viewer's attention. So with a monthly subscription of $54.99, you get access to all of the softwares I mentioned and more, like Lightroom, Illustrator, and After Effects. Going even further, they actually have online tutorials on the Adobe website where you can learn how to use the various softwares they offer you. Pretty amazing, huh? Now, let's say, for the sake of argument, you don't want to use the Adobe softwares. That's fine. There are other ones out there. You can use Final Cut Pro or DaVinci Resolve for video editing, and look into Logic Pro X and Audacity for audio editing. But let's say maybe you don't want those either. Maybe they're just too expensive or maybe too intimidating for beginners. Don't worry, there's a more simpler alternative. This alternative is known as Filmora. I've learned about this back when I was going to VidCon for the first time. Essentially, this is a more easier to understand video editing software for beginners, but you are still able to make amazing content on Filmora with all the various tools and features they offer. And the best part is, you can actually download Filmora for free, both on Windows and Mac. But know this, you can use it for free, you can play around with it to learn how to video edit, but when you export a video on Filmora, if you're using the free version, you'll notice that there is a watermark for Filmora on the finished product. If you don't want the watermark, or maybe you want access to additional features that Filmora may have to offer you, you'll have to go into a yearly subscription. Not monthly, yearly. And it's not that much, about $49.99. So already, this is a financially better option for video editors who are just starting out. Much better than paying $54.99 a month, right? As you can see, there are multiple options available to you in terms of video editing softwares, so you don't have to feel restricted to just one option. Just look into the different softwares that I mentioned and pick the ones that are best for you. Alright, we are finally done with listing the equipment. We are just about ready to record the content. And I know this is a lot to take in, believe me. But again, I want to help you succeed and give you the best chance possible. So again, if you have any other questions, let me know in the comments section below and I'll answer as best I can. Okay, enough about talking about the equipment. We are now getting to the point where we go over the steps to take before you hit that record button. And the steps are as followed. You want to research, write, and rehearse. As advocacy content creators, we have a responsibility to make sure our information is accurate and up to date. That means researching multiple websites, cross-referencing the information, make sure the information you get is consistent, and pay attention to what date and time that the article or website was published. That way, when you have the research done, you can work on the next step, writing the script. But Steven, why would you write a script? It's not like you're doing a skit or a movie or anything like that. That's true, but doing videos like this is not just about giving the information to the audience, it's also about presentation, about how you deliver the information to your audience. And being able to present what you want to say in a professional manner instead of stuttering every other minute can be what separates your content from everyone else's. And the best way to do that is by doing a script. So, you want to do a rough draft of the script, then proofread it, then edit it down to a final draft. Never ever use the first edition as your final draft, because after you're done recording, you might think, oh, maybe I should have said this, or maybe I should have left that part out. So make sure that the script you're using is a final draft, not the first one. After that's said and done, rehearse. Make sure you can memorize the lines as best as you can. That way you're not struggling every other minute to figure out what the next line is. Now, I'll be honest with you, this is not easy, especially if you're doing a long video like this. So, an alternative that you may want to look into is if you have a tablet or an iPad, you can have it positioned right next to the camera and then have it set on auto scroll showing the script so that way you can know where you are in the script. But it's a good trick to know but not to rely on, and here's why. When you are recording content like this, you want to look directly at the camera to make sure that your audience has your attention and you have the audience's attention. And when they see your eyes kind of go to the preview screen or maybe to the script next over, they're going to notice where the eyes are facing, and it will feel kind of awkward. It's like you're having a conversation with another person, but you're not really looking at them. So that is the 3 steps you want to take before you start recording. Now we are finally, at long last, ready to start making videos. But as I mentioned in the beginning, there are multiple ways you can go about it. So here, I'm going to give you 3 examples of what kind of videos you can make in terms of how you can make your content stand out. The first idea is something like this. You sit in front of a camera, have enough lighting, and then say what you want to say to your audience. Now, some may think that maybe this is too easy. Maybe this might not be enough to stand out. You'd actually be surprised. There are some bigger content creators out there, like the Josh Speaks and the Aspie World, that make videos just like this. No green screen, no special effects, no nothing. They just sit in front of a camera, have their lines rehearsed, and they say what they want to say to the audience. And their presentation, as well as their personality, is what separates them from other content creators. So don't be afraid that this might not be enough. But in the event where you may think that this is not enough, well, maybe let's try something else. Something a bit more visually appealing, like a green screen effect. With the power of the green screen, you are the maker of your own world, the captain of your own ship, the master of your own domain, where anything you say goes. You want a space station background? Awesome. You want an island background? Okay. You want a professional news station as your background? Go for it. Whatever you want in the green screen. But know this, pulling off a green screen effect is not easy. You want a couple studio lights positioned and angled right. You want enough distance between you and the green screen so there's no shadows. Then you gotta edit it all down in Ultra Key in the video editing softwares. And even then, only if you got the recording part right. So just know, there's a lot more that goes into the green screen than just slapping on a background. But let's say, maybe you don't want to do this. Maybe that's just too complicated or too many steps. But at the same time, maybe something like this is not enough. Well, here's option number 3. This is option number 3. What we have right here is a small booth with a structure strong enough to hold this blanket. What this will do is not only give you a nice, simple background, but depending on the material that you're using, like this heavy blanket, you can also reduce the echo and vibrations that may usually go on during an indoor recording, thus giving you much cleaner audio right off the bat. A couple things to note though. First, you want enough lighting to go into the booth. That way the camera and thus the audience can still see you. And not that they're dealing with a grainy video because it's too low of an exposure, or that they can't see anything because it's too dark. The other thing is that there are multiple ways you can go about this. You don't have to get an audio booth like this. You can if you want, but be careful. Something like this cost me around $1,000 to get. Yeah, you're welcome, Thomas, for that very expensive birthday gift. But it doesn't have to be like this. It could be a smaller canopy with a not so heavy blanket, and it'll still get the job done, giving you a nice visual presentation to the audience. Alrighty, those are the 3 video options that I have for you. One of these might work, or maybe none of them. If you want further inspiration or get a better idea on what kind of videos you want to make, check out other content creators that are making work that are similar to what you want to make. Watch what they do in the videos. How do they position themselves? How do they present themselves? What else are they doing in the video? Do they have music in it or not? Do they have text or do they not have text? Pay attention to what other content creators are doing and see where you can add your own spin to it. That way it's not like a complete copycat. And there you have it, the basics of how you can go about creating your content. I thank you for watching this all the way to the end. I know this is a lot, but again, I want you to succeed. So if you have any other questions, comments, or concerns, let me know in the comments section below, and I'll answer it to the best of my ability. So, thank you very much for watching, everybody. If you enjoy what you see, consider liking and subscribing to Tostemac and clicking the bell icon to stay up to date in our latest videos. And come back in a couple weeks where we will talk about the final and arguably the hardest part of being a content creator. And that is promoting your content. So, thank you very much for watching, and until the next video, see you later.